Welcome to the Modern Stock Car East Coast Regional. As they say in the famous rap song from quite a few years back, we got all of the lights. Guess what? We got all of the lights from Daytona International Speedway as we welcome you to one of the most famous super speedways in the entire United States of America for the running of the Bonefish Grill 250 to kick off the first ever MSCECR season. Here in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour, we got a subdivision going on for tracks up and down the east coast of the United States. And as you can see, we have 35 cars on hand for one of what I would consider to be one of the greatest models of NASCAR race cars that I've ever seen. The late COT from 2012. Just take a look at all of these wonderful cars and our wonderful pace car, the Chevrolet Camaro. I mean, look at that thing. That is beautiful. But as we go back through the field again, you know, this is an absolutely incredible super speedway, and we've seen so many incredibly great finishes, great moments, and unfortunately some great crashes as well that have happened here at the Daytona International Speedway. And I gotta tell you, this is an entirely different field than what I'm used to. You do have some MSCCT veterans in here. Starting near the back is the 33 of Dan Wilkins, who will be switching to the number 3 around mid-season. You have Mitchell Carter in the 88. You got Luis Aguilar, two-time race winner in the 55. And you got Darian Arnsdorf, almost your Season 2 champion in the number 1 car. And Ryan Adema in the number 98, Caleb Ford. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of rookies as well. As we go through this field, I'll introduce you to some of the new faces that you'll be getting ready to see for the rest of this season and beyond. There's the 40 car of Jeff Jeffrey. There's the 2 of Daniel Rivera. The 6 of Gauge Martinez. The 09 of, Stewie Moore. The 34 of Allison Rain. The 43... I gotta check my notes. I don't even remember. The 36 of Julio Cruz. And again, I apologize, but hey, this is a brand new field to me, and I don't even remember anybody's names, and I don't expect you to remember all of these either. But take a look at this beautiful racetrack. We're going to be sitting from the spotter stand up here in a minute, but I mean, you just got to see for the beauty of this track, you know, with the big boards up here, right up there where I'm pointing on my screen, and also just the facilities. You can see there's a lot of the trailers over here, and you got your Dale Earnhardt Jr. advertisements, and as we go on through, you got some fans hanging out, because it's under the lights at Daytona, and I got to tell you, I am more excited for this race than I've ever been for an MSCECR or any lower division event, because when we ran the MSCSS race with the old Gen 4 cars at Daytona, I gotta tell you, that was one of the craziest championship finishes that I had ever seen, because I'll tell you, this was the closest championship finish that you're ever going to see in any division. I'll just be blunt here. That's the closest finish you're ever going to see, as my camera started to glitch a little bit there. But hey, 4 1,000ths of a second is what stopped Ward Burton from being the champion in last season over Winnie Calhoun. And even though Calhoun was the champion at the end of the day, you got to admit they all had a great run, and they all ended up having a great time at Daytona International Speedway. But this is not the Gen 4 cars anymore. This is the brand new, I don't even say brand new, because we're at the Gen 6, and in 2022 we're going to be with the Gen 7 or next gen cars. But this is the COT cars. Everybody loves these cars from the early 2010s, and we have 35 of them on display here at the Great Daytona International Speedway for the running of the Bonefish Grill 250. Let's take a look from Daniel Rivera's hood as we listen to the Driver Command, sponsored by Bank of America.
Start your engine! Go out there and have a good time today. Make it happen at the end, my friend. Big thumbs up here. You're ready to rock and roll. Good luck to you guys on pit road down there today.
That was Daniel Rivera's crew chief and spotter. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. In row 1, we have Greg Shetner and Jeff Jeffrey. In row 2, we have Richard Birmingham and Daniel Rivera, who we just listened to the driver command. In row 3, we have Stewie Moore and Gauge Martinez. In row 4, we have Allison Rain and Keon Daly. In row 5, we have Osido Bear and Julio Cruz. In row 6, we have JJU and Rusty Shackelford. In row 7, we have Will Fasano and Avery Radford. In row 8, we have Vincent Crook and Eli Sasak. In row 9, we have John Hunter Nemechek and Brad Stover. In row 10, we have AJ Jones and former MSCCT driver Jay Bird. In row 11, we have Deku Manez and Zay Williams. In row 12, we have Ryan Adema and Chris Lattimore. In row 13, we have almost at Season 2 champion Darian Arnsdorf and Tony Shopik. In row 14, we have Sam Joseph and Dan Wilkins. In row 15, we have Willie Calhoun and Alex Nielsen. In row 15, we have Luis Aguilar and Leland Hill. In row 16, we have Jacob Thibodeau and Mitchell Carter. And in row 17, we have Corey James rounding out the field in that number 26 Ford. So the Chevrolet Camaro that's been leading a lot of our races lately will be leading the rest of this field of 35 cars. You know, in the MSCSS, we had at the peak of our MSCSS run, we had 32 cars. At one point, we only had 21, and now this year, with a new season, with new drivers, new tracks, and a new identity, it's time to start fresh. Season 3 begins right here, right now. Green flag from the Bonefish Grill 250. Gauge Martinez sending Daniel Rivera a little bit loose on the final part of the backstretch there, going into turn number 3, and it looks like this will be a drag race to the line. Looks like the 16's got a little bit of an edge, and that was very close. However, by 1/100th of a second, Greg Shetner, the 28-year-old from St. Paul, Minnesota, holds his line and leads lap number 1. Although Rivera getting help from one of his friends, Gauge Martinez in the 6 car. Looks like now they're going to be helping on the inside line, and I'm not entirely surprised. On the first few laps, they formed 2 distinct lines and sort of stuck with it. A little bit later in the race, you're going to see the 3-wide pack racing really start to take over the entire mentality of the race. But for now, we just have to worry about this side-by-side 2-wide racing. As you can see, they are going real fast, 204 miles per hour going into the tri-oval, and this time Daniel Rivera barely edges out Greg by, again, 1/100th of a second. This is going to be really close, and now Daniel Rivera splits from his draft line, and now the front pack is getting a little bit squirrely. You can see Gauge Martinez is taking the lead with the help of the number 18 of Keon Daly, as the 16 and the 2 of Shetner and Rivera both fall back, and now same with Martinez. He's not getting the draft help that he wants, and now Keon Daly is going to be taking the lead, even if it's only for a few seconds. Again, here comes Julio Cruz in that number 36 car, sponsored by Ollie's Bargain Outlet. Gotta wonder what we're going to see here as we conclude lap number 3 with the help of the 78 of Rusty Shackelford. Julio Cruz, also known as the Sky Flyer, he's going to be on the outside line. Guess he's going to be flying through that pack since he didn't exactly start in the position that he wanted to, but I guess that this is going to be a rebound from what he's going for. But, you know, while we're at it, let's take a look at the number 67 of Chris Lattimore. He had a wreck in the happy hour session, also known as the final practice, just tonight, because remember, they do practice with a backup car before they get to the race, and they did this, like, I don't know, 2-3 hours before the actual green flag flew in the Bonefish Grill 250. But he had a minor wreck where he got scraped up with the number 26 of Corey James, and then as a result, he had some damage on his back bumper. And if we can get a good look here, he has some damage on his left front fender. And take a look at this, where I'm circling right here. He's got damage on his left front fender, and they just taped it up and they let it fly before the green flag even flew, and they let it roll an inspection because of the fact that the practice was being held on the same day as the actual event. So they decided to just let bygones be bygones and, you know, let him run the race anyway with his current car in his current position, because right now it doesn't seem like it's mattering. He's running inside the top 15, and he's not having any problems because he's working with the draft. There's Zay Williams in the 04 in front of him, and the second-place finisher in the MSCCT regular season points, Darian Arnsdorf, in the number 1 McDonald Chevrolet. He's right behind him. He's running inside the top 15. He's being able to contend in this event, and he's being able to compete. So, you know, I don't have a problem with him having that sort of modification on his left front fender, because what else are you going to do about it, you know? And now, as I said, the 3-wide racing is really starting to commence, except for at the front. There's Avery Radford in the number 42 Clorox Chevrolet, and Eli Sasak, the native of Berlin, Michigan, in the number 9 Mack Tools Ford. They both are side by side at the line. Man, that was close. That was real close at the line, less than 1/100th of a second. Let's take a look at how close that was. Indeed, it was 1/1000th of a second. Imagine if that was the last lap, man. Whew. That is incredible. The closest finish in NASCAR history, it's actually tied between the 2003 Carolina Dodge Dealers 400, which was at Darlington Raceway, and then also the 2011 Aaron's 499 at Talladega. In 03, it was a battle between Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven, where the famous line that Darrell Waltrip says, "Craven got him," is when Ricky Craven beat Kurt Busch by 2/1000ths of a second. And then, for all intents and purposes, the exact same thing happened in 2011, except it wasn't at a speedway like Darlington. It was at Talladega, between Clint Boyer and Jimmy Johnson. That was also 2/1000ths of a second, and Darrell Waltrip was also on hand to make his own call for that, I should say, exciting finish as well. Considering that for that event in particular, you know, Darrell Waltrip says, "Oh, he got him by an inch," and then Larry McReynolds just screams over the announcements, 2/1000ths of a second. And then Darrell corrects himself and says, "Okay, maybe a 16th of an inch." It's one of my favorite lines, and it's one of my favorite, hey, gotcha moments from NASCAR, because it's just such an ironic thing that, yeah, he got him by an inch. I think he got him by a little bit less than that. Zay Williams currently leads on lap 9 of the Bonefish Grill 250 as these drivers are hauling their rear ends down the backstretch, 206 miles per hour by Eli Sasak. And speaking of fast and powerful, let's take a look at our fastest lap right now. That is currently being held by the 51 of Alex Nielsen, who is currently at this time running a 43.597, and he's running in 25th, so he's a little bit further behind than what he wants to be, because especially at super speedways, you don't want to be far back, because if a wreck happens at the front, then you don't want to be caught up in it, and you don't want to be the victim of being one of the guys that goes to the garage at the end of the day. Because of the fact that you were at the back and you got caught up in it, especially in something where all of the cars are still competitive in a pack race like this. That's just something that you have to consider. For the rest of our top 5 for our fastest laps, we have Corey James in the 26, right in front of Alex Nielsen, conveniently, with a 43.599, and then Dan Wilkins in the 33, that's me, with a 43.608, and then Tony Shopik in the number 23 with a 43.649, and then to wrap it up, Jacob Thibodeau in the number 87, the native of Lyon, France, with a 43.660. And, you know, you might notice that some of these cars, they resemble some of the smaller teams that ran in NASCAR, especially around the time of the late COT, because you got Phoenix Racing representing the 51 of Alex Nielsen and the 09 of Stewie Moore. And you also have to consider the fact that in the MSCECR, there are no organized teams. It's every man for himself at every given day. However, you also have to consider the fact that when it comes to the actual races itself, It's a lot of pre-made cars. It's a lot of the, you know, the recycled old Cup cars from 2011 and 2012 that are running at this level with just different drivers, and the sponsors are the same. There's just no teams. Every garage is different from the other, and every garage's atmosphere and every worker is different from the other. So all 35 of these cars are essentially either owner drivers or they're running by themselves. So it's every man for himself in the Modern Stock Car East Coast Regional. So that's what I really like about this division, is that, you know, unlike the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour, where you could essentially just join a team and then forget that you're even there and not even, you know, be an active participant, when you're in the MSCECR, if you want to succeed, you have to basically fend for yourself. Coming off of turn number 4 on lap number 12, Luis Aguilar in the number 55 Aaron's Dream Machine leads him back to the line, beating out Leland Hill. And, you know, speaking of the little guys, you know, it was, in the real world of NASCAR, I love the little teams sometimes. You know, I have a special appreciation in my heart for something like Spire Motorsports or Premium Motorsports, or, you know, one of the smaller teams that doesn't exactly get the recognition that they deserve, especially somebody like Richard Petty Motorsports. You know, when you look at somebody like Bubba Wallace, who was basically constantly outperforming his equipment, because let's be honest, RPM is mid-pack at best, but if he was not to wreck at the Fall Talladega race in 2020, he probably would have won that thing, and I was rooting for Bubba. But with all these new players in NASCAR, with all these new investors and you know, team stakeholders, they're all different now, because you have Michael Jordan, you know, the NBA basketball player, who I think won 5-6 NBA titles. I'm not too familiar with Michael Jordan in basketball. I mean, obviously everybody knows who Michael Jordan is, but I mean, if you don't know who Michael Jordan is from basketball, you know who he is from Space Jam, and that's pretty cool. But looks like we almost had some trouble off of 4, as Ryan Adema has gotten into the 55 a little bit there. As we do have some cars entering pit road, Corey James is your leader. However, like we said, we do have about 5 or 6 cars going to pit lane. We have Jeff Jeffrey, Will Fasano, Allison Rain, Vincent Crook, Stewie Moore, Brad Stover. That looks like that's all for this first group. But, you know, you got Michael Jordan, and then you also have, let's see, you have Pitbull, the famous artist, who is currently, I believe he has a stake in Trackhouse, which is that number 99 team that I believe Daniel Suarez is going to be running in the Cup Series in 2021. But there is one team that maybe I don't have the greatest appreciation for, and that would be Rick Ware Racing, as we do have about half the field now going to pit lane. Due to that, Deku Manez jumps from 7th to 1st and takes the lead. While we're at it, let's take a look at some of the folks on pit lane right now. We have AJ Jones, Winnie Calhoun, your MSCSS champion, Richard Birmingham, Rusty Shackelford, Dan Rivera, Zay Williams, Chris Lattimore, Eli Sasak. We have Keon Daly, Avery Radford, Gauge Martinez, John Hunter Nemechek. Looks like we got Osito Bear, also JJU, and Greg Shetner, your pole sitter, who's running all the way back in 28th. Looks like he's going to be making his stop here, so you can see at least half the field on pit lane right now. As it looks like Brad Stover, it might be in the way for the rest of these folks here, although it's not going to be the case since they're all going to pit lane. There's Deku Manez in the picture, Ryan Adema, your Season 2 champion at the Cup level, Alex Nielsen, Corey James, Mitchell Carter, Dan Wilkins, Luis Aguilar, Sam Joseph, Darian Arnsdorf, and more. As we have some contact made on pit road, that might have been Luis Aguilar and Mitchell Carter making some contact. Let's take a look. Looks like the 88 got a little bit of a love tap from that 55. Oh, man, the 88 just slammed into the side right rear quarter panel of the number 33, Dan Wilkins. So that's going to be a little bit of a detriment to his performance, since he has a little bit of damage on that car. He's still on pit lane. Doesn't look like he is, and he's not actually going to lose any time, since he's going to beat Luis Aguilar off of pit lane. Recently this year, league officials decided to increase pit road speed from 55 to 60 miles per hour after getting approval. As let's hope nobody does a Kevin LePage and decides to really mess up the field. Because I know that, you know, pit exit line is just on the entry of turn 1. We do have Jacob Thibodeau Entering pit road, Daytona and Ryan Ema going back to back. Doing a little tandem drafting on lap number 17. Let's take a look at this flyby right here. It's a darn good flyby. There's another one for you. Watch all these cars go by. 2 air and dream machines right there. 2 is better than 1, of course. And there's a 16 passing by. But yeah, you know, I don't have a big place in my heart for Rickware Racing, and that's mainly because of the fact that they put so much money in, you know, endeavors in other series that they don't focus on one thing, and they don't focus on one program and make themselves better. Because you can invest a whole bunch of money into one program and make yourself good. But if you invest a little bit of money in a whole bunch of different projects, then you're not going to be able to put one above the other and make yourself better in one than the rest. As you can see, Jacob Thibodeau just held up Alex Nielsen and allowed Ryan Ema in the 98 car to take his lead in a decent manner, but I believe Alex Nielsen, with the help of Corey James, Winnie Calhoun, and Deku Manez, will be able to help that lead. However, but my point still stands with my position on Rickware Racing. You have to consider the fact that they're running in NASCAR with a 4-car team. They're running in IMSA. They're running in IndyCar. They're competing in the 24 Hours of Daytona, if I'm not mistaken. And they have a whole bunch of different programs as well, even in different depths of NASCAR and different depths of IndyCar. So if you put yourself in so many different programs, then how are you going to make yourself good at any? Because you can make yourself great in one program and invest most of your time and resources into that, or you can do what Rickware's doing and put all of your resources into a whole bunch of different projects and different aspirations and groups, and then be terrible in all of them. You know, if you look at the 2020 Indianapolis 500, you notice that a Rickware car blew up, had some brake failures on the first 10 laps of the race, brought out the first caution, and finished last. I think that's the epitome of Rickware Racing right there, not just for their IndyCar program, but then you also look at the 2019 Daytona 500, where 2 of their cars, including Cody Ware in a 52, ended up messing up Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman, and a whole bunch of these other drivers who were trying to just make a normal pit stop and make a normal pit entry, but no, they didn't know how to make a pit stop, so they ended up spinning on the pit road like they had no tires on that back thing, and they ended up just screwing over everybody else, and you know, ending Newman's, or it wasn't Newman in the 31 at the time, it was Tyler Reddick, my apologies. But still, my point stands, Rickware Racing is investing so much money into other projects besides NASCAR that they're making themselves terrible in all of them. And that's why Rickware Racing, I wouldn't be surprised if 23XI, that team with Bubba Wallace and Michael Jordan, I wouldn't be surprised if they become a powerhouse before Rickware does. Because you can field 4 cars all you want, but if they're all dog crap, then what's the point? Lap number 22 out of 40 in the Bonefish Grill 250. We've been staying on this camera for a little while. But Ryan Ema and Alex Nielsen have been going back at it, back and forth for a while now. And Deku Manez is still getting a little bit into the picture. As your top 10 at this time is Nielsen, Adema, Manez, Corey James, AJ Jones, and then the rest of the top 10, Winnie Calhoun, Rusty Shackelford. Oh, got shuffled up a little bit there. So, let's do this again. Nielsen, Manez, Adema, Jones. That's Brad Stover in the 83. And you got Corey James, Mitchell Carter, Winnie Calhoun, Richard Birmingham, and Rusty Shackelford. With that being said, see, we got this camera up here from the spotter stand. All 35 spotters are essentially helping their drivers here. As these cars are coming off of turn number 4 here, we're going to actually follow them around for a little bit on what we call the helicopter camera for this lap and this lap only. We might do a little bit more, but let's get started. Actually, probably what we should do a little turn here. Let's see. We're going to turn up our moving speed. Let's see, can we move the camera? This is the first time we've used the camera here, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be able to use this. Let's see, can we move this? Controls are a little bit stuck here. I will admit I am not the most perfect. Here we go. Here they are coming off turn number 4. Get this flyby. Okay, that wasn't the best flyby, but let's follow them anyway. But with this view, you get a little bit of a tour of the racetrack, and, you know, you get to see all those trailers. You get to see Lake Lloyd. You get to see those trailers down there. You get to see the famous hotel. We're going to close out this lap with him right here. Vincent Crook holding off Richard Birmingham. 15 laps to go this time by. We're going to go back up to the spotter stand here and be content with where we are, because that was a very exciting lap. That was brought to you by Coke Zero. Share a friend, share a Coke. Coke-Cola. I'm just kidding. I made up that slogan on the fly. Because that's how you do it at the MSCECR. Let's put on our scoreboard again so that you can see without this big little red notification popping up. That's why whenever we use those cameras, we turn off that notification, since it's better for us to use that instead of, I don't know. Like, it's better to just not have that big notification pop up while you're trying to use the camera. But Rusty Shackelford takes the lead away from Vincent Crook as he falls from 1st to 5th. Right now we have a pack of about, I'd say, let's take a look here. We got a pack of 13 drivers in total, all the way from Corey James to Deku Manez, who are running in this one pack. However, there's a completely different pack who's running about half the field and way behind the rest of them. See right here, this is a pack of, let's see, about another dozen cars that are running 6 seconds behind the leader. So unless we have another cycle of pit stops, these people are essentially stranded for dead, and they need a caution to get them back on track. And right now, the top 13 cars here, all the way from 1st to 13th, are pulling away, as even the 13th place car, which is currently Deku Manez, he is 0.48 seconds behind the leader. Yeah, the 14th place car of Jeff Jeffrey, he is 6.2 seconds behind the leader. So that just gives you a perspective of how far away these two packs are from each other. They're little little clusters that are trying to work together. However, they're sort of bringing themselves further apart, as these top 13 drivers don't want to change their spots, and those drivers up there, they want to be up with them. If we can take a look on the next time by, we're going to get a good view of those two packs as they cross the start-finish line. But now it's a battle between Corey James and Jacob Thibodeau. It's going to be real interesting to see what they do here as Alex Nielsen takes the lead away with the help of A.J. Jones. But, you know, one of the things that I do consider interesting about the MSCECR is that it's a completely regional series. If you take a look at any of NASCAR's 3 series, the Trucks, Xfinity, or even Cup, they're all national. They all go from the West Coast, East Coast, Central Time, Midwest, and beyond, as Allison Rain and Brad Stover are both going to pit lane here with about 11 laps to go this time by. Oh, I forgot to show you the flyby. Let's take a look at the second pack. You'll love to hear those sounds. But Winnie Calhoun, your champion by 4 1/1000ths of a second in the MSCECR, or excuse me, the MSCSS from last season, he is your new leader. It's now Deku Manez, who was in 13th just a few laps ago. He's creeping up on him. See if anybody goes to pit lane on this time by. Well, we got a few more takers. Looks like Vincent Crook among them. I was going to say Mitchell Carter, but then I looked in this pack and I saw that he was still here, but we got 10 to go. But one of the interesting things about the MSCECR schedule is that it's only 20 races instead of the scheduled 28 for the Cup level. And, of course, they're all at East Coast tracks instead of all around the country. So you have tracks that probably will never be used at the Cup level, like Airbase Speedway in Greenville, South Carolina, Virginia International in somewhere in Virginia. I think it's also near the South Boston area, but don't quote me on that. Then there's Williams Grove Speedway in Central PA. And then you also got Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. As looks like the rest of the pack is now going pit lane with Calhoun, Adema, Shackelford, Carter, Jones, and James all up in there. This looks like Zay Williams has some damage on his car. I think something might have happened to Zay Williams, guys. Take a look. Did something happen to him? We're going back here on the tape, and unless he hit the wall, then maybe something happened, like, way back that I didn't see. Because, if I'm being honest, I don't know. I know as much as the next guy. I don't see... I see damage on his car from way back, so honestly, I'm not even going to try to, like, question it, because if we're going to spend so much time looking back to see if there was a wreck that I missed or something, then we're going to put ourselves too deep in a hole, and it's not really worth it if we're being quite honest, so we'll see what happens here with less than 10 to go. But as I was saying, there's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec. There's also New Jersey Motorsports Park in Millville, New Jersey. Wall Stadium also in New Jersey, in the central part near Trenton. And there's also New York City, the Street Course Clash, which is going to be really interesting, in my opinion, because it's going to be near the end of the season. It's going to be the second to last road course. So, you know, do what you will with that. But, and then also the fact that the championship race is at the New Hampshire Oval, which is just going to be really interesting. As it looks like currently our leader is Jay Bird. We haven't heard a peep from this guy all day, and now he's the leader, and it looks like now he's leaving pit lane, so he might not be the leader anymore. But Jay Bird finished runner-up to Dan Wilkins in the 77 in the Season 2 American Airlines 500. It was called the Daytona 500 then, but it was now called the American Airlines 500, and he was runner-up. He had 8 laps to make a move, and just couldn't do it. So he was close, but he just couldn't get there. As now I can confirm, Jay Bird no longer has the lead. It is now... If we take a look at our field up here... Let's see. Gotta look for Alex Nielsen up here. There he is. So it's gonna be a battle here between Alex Nielsen and Ryan Adema for the last few laps. Of course, Ryan Adema won the championship in Season 2, as we had said. He won 3 races. His 3 races won in Season 2 were at Martinsville to Dollar Tree 500, which set a record in the MSCCT for most cautions with 14, including a flip by Nolo Hamilton down the front stretch where he rolled several times. His second win would be at Canadian Tire. Yes, his one and only road course win as a driver. That was at Canadian Tire for the TD Bank 350. In a very exciting finish where Chase Buck, his own teammate, pitted on the last lap to give Adema the lead, and he ended up staying out and taking home the victory. So it looks like now neither Nielsen or Ryan Adema are in the lead. Stewie Moore in the 09. How about that? This time by 5 laps to go, side by side. It's Deku Manez and Stewie Moore. Behind him, Mitchell Carter and Alex Nielsen. And then Woody Calhoun, Corey James, Ryan Adema, Rusty Shackelford, Allison Rain, Brad Stover, and even Vincent Crook, all in the top 10. And they're going to be battling for these next 5 laps, because we got 10 miles to go. It's like that famous NASCAR Flash game from the 2000s, 5 miles to go. When we have 2 to go, 2 laps to go around this Daytona track, that'll let you know when it's 5 miles to go, since it is 2.5 miles around circuit. Do the math. Nielsen back to the lead, jumping from third to first over Jacob Thibodeau, who is a lap down. Thibodeau, Zay Williams, and Avery Radford are both a few laps down, and Avery Radford is 5 laps down. So after the race, we'll take a look and see if there was anything between Williams and Radford, and maybe even Jacob Thibodeau, that, you know, may have caused problems later in the event. But I don't want to distract from the current situation at hand by looking at an older replay. So we're just going to let bygones be bygones and then take a look at it after the show is concluded. Alex Nielsen trying to hold off Corey James, Rusty Shackelford, and the rest of the field behind him. That's 11 cars still on the lead lap. 3 to go. And this would be the first race in the MSCCT or in any MSCECR or any divisional race at all without a caution since race number 9 of last season at the MSCSS, when Thunder Bay went without a caution in that race up in Ontario, Canada. Keon Daly won that race, and that's to this day has been his only MSCSS win. Corey James peeking to the inside, and look, Avery Radford, who is 5 laps down. We're getting shades of Larry Barker here, coming back to the line, 2 to go. Side by side, they're really close. 2/100ths of a second separates them from first and second. Radford gonna split the middle. Corey James gets an advantage, and Willie Calhoun gets a good run. Stewie Moore and Mitchell Carter getting a real good advantage there, and like I said, it was shades of Larry Barker from the first ever MSCCT race, when he was multiple laps down after being involved in a crash with Jeffrey McClintock and Ben Lloyd on lap 28. He went several laps down, and sometimes we were talking about him for a while because he was holding up the leaders, and it actually changed the outcome of the race. But with that being said, white flag, 1 more lap to go. The Bonefish Grill 250. Winnie Calhoun, who won the MSCSS Championship at this very track just last year back in December, won over Ward Burton and others by 4/1000ths of a second. Now he has a chance to start off this season right with a win at Daytona. He's just got to hold off Stewie Moore, Brad Stover, and the others, who have a good shot as well. Top 5 currently Calhoun, James, Moore, Carter, and Stover. One final time off of turn number 4. Does Stover give him a run? This might be a really close finish if we're not careful. It won't be enough. Winnie Calhoun wins the Bonefish Grill 250 at Daytona International Speedway. What a way to kick off the MSCECR. And a great finish that is just 11/100ths of a second. I'll tell you, good way to start. For sure, good way to start. So Calhoun will be at the top of the leaderboard. Your top 10 is as follows: Winnie Calhoun, Brad Stover, Stewie Moore in the 09, Mitchell Carter. We got Deku Manas in 5th, then Ryan Enema, Corey James, Allison Rain, Rusty Shackelford, and Alex Nielsen. Now, as these cars depart for pit road, we are going to take a look at the 04 of Zay Williams to see if he was involved in anything that might have been a cause for what in the world happened. So I'm just going through every single lap here to see if he gets some, lap 16, he gets some damage. So this is what we're looking for here. We stopped looking for it at lap 20, so I would assume that he got something on pit lane. Maybe this was a pit road accident. I don't know. Because he looked fine going into the pits, right? Looks fine going in, looks fine going out. He doesn't have any damage. And I don't see anything that happens here. Oh, this is what happens. Okay. So we can finally explain the mystery of what happened to Zay Williams. So you can see right here, Jacob Thibodeau is given a little bit of a block, and he just turns dead right into the wall and then hooks the 04 and sends him into the wall as well. But where's the 42 in all this? Okay, so the 42 is also in the backstretch, but I don't think she picks up any damage from this. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, she doesn't pick up any damage either. Although the 87, I believe, had a tire down. It's entirely possible that Jake had a tire down, and that's what sparked it. Let's take a look again and see how Radford gets banged up. She's in 31st, 33rd. Does she just get held up on pit lane, or what now? Looks like she gets held up for a long time on pit lane. Because I'm just trying to figure out what in the world happened. Yeah, so lap 30 here. She's going down pit lane. The marker on the bottom right of my screen, you can't see, marks 30:29. And then when she crosses the line here, because her line is after, or her line is before the pit stall, it's at 35:20. So that's a whole 5 minutes in the pits. That's why she was 5 laps down. But that's enough of, what we were looking for. We found our answer. Jacob Thibodeau had a tire down leaving pit lane because he ran over some debris, and he just ended up catching the the 04 of Zay Williams. So, Avery Radford finishes 6 laps down in 35th. But your race winner is Whitney Calhoun with his second career win in the MSCSS. He went from the number 80 last year to number 7, and boy, I'm sure he's very happy with what just happened right here at Daytona International Speedway. Anyways, this is Dan Wilkins signing off for now. We will see you at race number 2 in the MSCECR from Great Homestead Miami Speedway for the running of the Hellman's 200. This has been Dan Wilkins again. We'll see ya.